Picture the ritual chamber. All of your tools, your ritual instruments, your fetishes, all of these things, your symbols, your altar images. Picture billowing incense. Picture and visualize the sound of ritualistic drumming and all of these things while you're invoking to fill your mind and spirit with a specific god or demon which will fill your temple of mind, body, and soul. In this circle with the billowing incense, never would you consider bowing before something else, nor are you doing it in the traditional Kabbalistic ceremonial magic way. You hate the avenues of Solomon and the lies and myths that created a tradition of ceremonial Christian magicians. The only magic to you is the magic of Luciferianism, the left-hand path, and those who walk the antinomianian path. Today we're going to discuss Luciferianism, sorcery, and the ideas and symbolism of ritual magic. Now that you have the foundations of Luciferian ideology, you understand the approach, the way of thinking, the way you have to change, the way you might not have to change because you already think that way, or the fine-tunings that you perceive as something that's hindering you within and that you want to gain a further advantage towards overcoming a specific obstacle. Now, Luciferian ideology goes much deeper because you're going to consider adversarial magic and the reality and the imagination and the circle of Tunanu, the dragon unleashed. We're going to discuss ritual magic in its very base foundation, beginning with the beautiful, complete, inspiring, intoxicating darkness. I've spent a lot of time talking about light initially in ideology, the light of self-deification, but also the light of inner power, direction, instinctual excellence towards a potential on human excellence. How does ritual magic support that? Well, first of all, ritual magic is a practice in which the mind and the imagination encircle itself within its own fantasy, but within complete, realistic, intense communion and association with the elements and that which our senses experience and hold attribution to. Ceremonial magic or solitary ritual and sorcery are different. Luciferian magic, as you can read in any of my books, really deals with propelling yourself and your daemon to self-excellence. Not love spells, not curses, perhaps vampiric magic if that's your avenue, but that's a harder path. But the magic of the daemon, the personal god, that is the essence of Luciferian magic on one basic level. It's significant within Dragon with the Two Flames as a source for the Luciferian ideology and a grimoire, a gateway to demonic and quite powerful deific mass, the old gods, that you genuinely put yourself within the circle of Litan or Leviathan and summon and invoke with passion to begin your process, your path towards becoming a black adept or adeptress, whatever you would prefer. I've spent a lot of time talking about the ideology, basic foundations, to bring the old deific mask or gods back to a mental and spiritual level of manifestation in this world. We have to invoke, and then we have to use the power and the spiritual influx, if you will, from these old gods and demons to then allow our daemon, our instinct, our true will to emerge through this type of practice, in which it will shape and utilize that energy towards our specific goals. Begin with Yam Nahar, Leviathan, called the tyrant, called the potentate with 7 heads, the dominant one of 7 heads. His forms are many. He's a sea god. He's identical to Neptune, Poseidon, except he is primordial and a great conflicting power of chaos and darkness. What I advise first is, if you have the means to already have a Leviathan idol image or an altar image, utilize it. Use an image from Dragon with 2 Flames and pick one that corresponds to what you want to start with, what you want to achieve. For basic energy workings towards shaping the chaos in life and the world to a semblance of order, if you're flooding over mastery, you'll invoke Litan, Leviathan. That's the dominant one of 7 heads. And you'll focus on that image of that deific mask. And if you're one of, okay, I've used chaos, the waves of my primordial desires to begin a pathway towards success, now you need to maintain it. So invoking Yam, Leviathan, the potentate of 7 heads, as the serpent god, half man, half serpent, sitting upon the throne, represents, obviously, a prince, a lord, who is still chaotic and is fueled intensely by the subconscious instinctual desires. But now you have a solid mastery, utilizing the demonic powers, chthonic aspects of life around you. If it's initiation, the black flame leading to your daemon, then Tunanu is Stami Lahu, which is dragon with 2 flames. That's the symbol of the serpent with the 2 fire demon goddesses on each side. Using and working with these individually, there's enough rituals for several different interpretations, depending on how you approach Leviathan. So think about what that represents to you and what you want to achieve from your primordial instincts, from your desires. And let's begin a practice towards that. The ordeals of the Abyssic Sea, of the first incantations of chapter 4, are centered and founded on the concept of Leviathan. Leviathan, as you know, is a primordial serpent dragon. This image was used throughout the Middle East. But more importantly, Yam, the god of the sea, who became Leviathan in that form of war and chaotic hunger and darkness, was assimilated from the Canaanite pantheon into the Hebrew Bible for a period. And those are the references you see to Leviathan that were prior to the Ras Shemra tablets that were unearthed in Ugarit. Every black adept should begin with an ordeal of Leviathan, and that should be determined by the individual for how long you will do the ritual, how many periods you'll do this ritual, to what extent you will focus on it, and the goals that you want to achieve from it. Usually a subconscious or a self, and then an outside the self. Let's consider, in Luciferian magic, the circle of Leviathan represents the center and foundation of your very body, mind, and spirit. It represents the circumference of the daemon, your instinctual drive. Even if you don't have that instinctual communication right away, it still represents that. It still calls to that. Using a circle with one of the epithets or cult titles of Yam-Nahar's Leviathan will breed immense, primordial, predatory, and raw, violent emotion towards accomplishing something. I'm not talking about, when I say violent, I don't mean starting fights or anything like that necessarily. I mean, with a passion, you know you want to do this. You're obsessed on this idea. Not everyone's that way, but usually those who enter the process, the path of initiation, which is a lifetime, really begin on obsessive points of detail. You take this grimoire, every single copy is a gateway to hell and the lofty habitations of the great deific masks and demons of our ancient history. Those we call perverse idols and abominations and demonic powers now have but an earlier manifestation which you, as a Luciferian or Satanist even, should want to take up and manifest accordingly. So cult epithets, titles, cult titles, descriptions are utilized heavily in this grimoire because they become names or words of power. Words of power when vibrated and every word meaning something with passion to you, representing the imagery of that deific mask, will activate in the subconscious the meaning and then the goal, what you want, how you think you're going to get that, through that act alone. The spiritual force invoked, no matter whether you want to believe in it as the mind or as an energy that you've called and created even, doesn't matter. What matters is you will obtain a result. The circle of Tunan Yam-Nahar, or Sulat Yitu Du Sabati Rahasima, the dominant one of 7 heads, really begins as a casting, and it's announcing your intent of power upon the world, right in fashion with the myth of Baal, the Baal cycle, Baal and Yam. Casting the circle, the words should be intoned in such a way. May the earth shake on the heights of the skies grow dark. I call to darkness the abyssic depths of which breeds chaos, with the triangle which is the meeting place of 3. May I be lifted up by the dominant one of 7 heads, Sulatu Du Sabati Rasima. I invoke Tunan and thy breed to empower me in the mysteries and powers of darkness. Rise, ascend, Yam-Nahar, of the forked-tailed immortal serpent with the forked tongue, which licks unto the heavens. That right there is the intensity that you should have in your workings. If you can't be loud and have a circle, then you should recite it in a way that you're getting so into it you don't notice what's around you. Then it goes to face the northwest corner. We begin in darkness and twilight, the west, the realm towards the land of entering the underworld. And it begins with Tunanu Istami Lahu. And then you'll visualize that deep blue and stealth of a serpent in water. The meaning and the symbolism and the color all play an integral part in your subconscious during the magical rite. You face the south then, call unto Batanu Aqualatanu, the twisting crooked serpent of darkness. And in that type of invocation, you move on to the northeast, and that's the ascending. It's the seven-headed dragon, as you'll see in the grimoire. This establishes your working. I would suggest you do it for a month, maybe a little bit more, to really get a feel for Yam as Leviathan and what that represents to you. The oath of the daemon is announcing your intent for that empowerment of your daemon. That is one example. There's several, and many actually, of these rites for Leviathan initially. And then we go through all the other deific masks. Now, invoking with intent and then recharge. As I observe the workings, again, this time in published form, of Dragon of the Two Flames, I recognize the almost exhaustive opportunity that is presented to re-invoke, reconsecrate, if you will, the temple of the old gods and demons towards our modern day, towards our modern needs, our challenges, and our purpose in ritual workings. Mascom Hole, Babylonian magic, is a ideal companion for Dragon of the Two Flames, as they are both of the same region. Mesopotamia is Mascom Hole, and the Canaanite lands and the Levant for Dragon of the Two Flames. But there's one thing that in magic, and probably why I have Tiamat here, is there's symbolism of the magician, the black adept, as a serpent. And that's utilized by and indicated by the word, which compels. The association of a magician with the serpent has been noted throughout the ancient Near East. Not only in invocations to Ningazida, who is described as having a mouth that is of a snake with a great tongue, a magician. Thus, his words compel and create, initiate change. That is what I was talking about. Invoking, you have to feel that passion. The serpent is a perfect, wonderful symbol of the primal instinct and wisdom, knowledge, health. All those things Luciferians value. And, as you perform this period of workings with the symbol of the dragon serpent, which, keep in mind, dragon and serpent are interchanged words in the ancient Near East. Look up the epithets of Leviathan. Yeah, that's the first deific mask in the section that goes into that. And also what the names mean, the indication based on etymology and all those things. Because really we don't go into biblical invocations until the last chapter, and that's specifically for the kind of Luciferian liberation from Judeo-Christian ideals. Once you utilize a period of invocation with Leviathan, depending on how you work it, you will either continue to do that for many years, as I have a natural affiliation to Yam and Leviathan, or you'll move on to like Baal Hadad. If you work with Baal Hadad, the storm god, in myth, they're enemies. Neither one's good or evil. They're balanced. One's, related to oceans and chaos, and Baal
creates order, compels order in your waking world, but also is a storm god and is one of the masks for Set of Egypt. So you're going to be challenged to get rid of the ideas of good and evil, and you do that step by step in invocation with intent by invocation. Thank you for watching this.